Let's continue drawing the auricle. It begins somewhere in the middle between the edge of the ear and the edge of the square. Slightly higher, right here. And it goes about halfway between the edge of the hair strand and the corner of the square. Slightly to the right. Let's draw the earlobe. It ended here. Then it goes to the right. And where the earring starts, that's about 1/8 of the middle. 1/4, 1/8, somewhere here. The earring begins around here. The ear continues here, and it ends right at the corner where the strand intersects with the side of the square. We round it slightly downward. The lower part of the auricle is at the edge of the square, also about the same level where the earring began, at the same level but slightly to the left. Around here. Here's a semicircle, and it ends about here. We were guided by this strand, and it will be slightly lower than the middle. We make such a semicircle. Here too, we'll have this part, approximately at the level, slightly to the right of this point. The center will be in the middle, right here. No need to be exact, just approximate. Check the photo reference as you go. We need to connect with this point. You see it goes slightly this way and then downward. Inside we will draw later when we work on light and shadow. Let's draw the earring. The edge is somewhere in the middle between the lower part of the earlobe and the corner of the square. Somewhere in the middle, at about the same level as here. Precision isn't necessary at this stage. For now, approximately. We are not aiming for hyperrealism, so draw by eye. Here starts this little diamond. You see, everything aligns at one level, so we draw roughly on one line. Here, it's almost at the center of the square. Here's the middle. Step back a little, somewhere here. A small connection. It ends exactly at 1/3. The line curves slightly here. Same here, a straight line with a slight curve. Connect them. Maybe it turned out a bit too long, perhaps a little higher. All of this can be corrected later when you work out the details. Next, the neck. You can see a little bit of it here. It starts from the earlobe, comes out from the corner of the diamond, in the middle, 1/4, 1/8. In the middle, 1/4, 1/8. Then it goes behind the hair, 1/4. And smoothly transitions into the hair in the middle of the square, forming a semicircle. Then a smooth transition to the shoulder, again about the middle of the square. Here it's slightly to the right of the center. It's not fully visible here, but you can improvise and continue, maybe a little more even. We'll remove the excess here. Let's outline where the necklace will go. It starts from this square, almost in the middle, somewhere around 1/4. Don't press hard for now. We'll refine this later. Just an approximate placement. Here the squares end, so we'll leave it as is for now and later decide what to do with it. Hair also goes down here somehow. We'll figure it out. You can also sketch this part where the shadow goes. It comes out almost from the middle of the earring and goes to the neck, slightly short of the neck. Then it curves smoothly into the neck. This strand also curves, and this one follows after it like this. Now we have the main shape of the head. Now let's proceed to transferring the eyes, eyebrows, nose, and mouth. We'll start with this eye. It's located in square A7B4. The lower part, let's start there. The lower part is roughly in the middle, A7B4. And we draw a very thin line across the middle of the square. That's the lower part of the eye. You can always add extra squares, either visually or directly on the photo, to make it easier to determine. The corner of the eye is a little less than 1/4. Horizontally and vertically also 1/4. The middle 1/4, somewhere here. Now let's define where the eye starts on the left side. That will be the neighboring square. Horizontally, I think it's also 1/4. 1/4, the middle, a line. Vertically, it will be the middle. See? We can now connect this lower part, slightly below the middle. We'll divide this part in half, and again in half. Somewhere here will be this point, and the lower part will be a little above this line. The middle of this side of the square, we can connect horizontally. I think it will be 1/8. Middle, 1/4, 1/8. Here it will be. And we can connect these 2 points. The eyelid line. If this is the middle, then it's 1/4. We connect with a semicircle. The upper part is 1/8. So it's somewhere between this point we just drew and the top, somewhere here, along this line. I think it will decrease somewhere in the middle. Between the middle and 1/4, it ends here, and we connect it upward. Connect the upper part too. We won't draw the eyelashes in detail yet. We can roughly sketch this line. This will be 1/3. And it goes right into the corner of the square intersection. If we extend this line upward, it ends right at this line. Draw straight. The width is about this, slightly less than here, somewhere around here. And connect as well. This line can be erased. It ends here. And this will be 1/4. The middle of the square, 1/4. Smoothly connect. Later, we'll add eyelashes, and the proper silhouette will appear. Let's outline where the pupil will be. The right edge is roughly in the middle, slightly to the left. The left edge is almost at the edge, around here. We can add the lower part too. Lower part slightly above the bottom of the eye, and we draw a circle. Connecting these marks, we draw a circle. You can erase these lines. Later, a few eyelashes will be added and the eye will start to appear. Now we are marking the most important parts we'll rely on later. Next, let's draw the iris inside. You see, the gaze looks roughly in this direction, so it's slightly off-center. It starts around 1/8, then half, then 1/4, 1/8, and ends at 3/8, 1/8 here. This can be drawn by eye because it will all be adjusted later when we refine everything. Draw a circle. Leave a highlight here, similar to the photo, and also a small highlight in the center. This can be done with an eraser or kneaded eraser. Always compare with the photo. I think here it's slightly higher. Everything is adjusted by eye. I think we made it a bit too high here. Let's lower it. Even lower, I think. A bit wider. Now let's outline the left eye. The left eye begins here. It's the center 3/8 of square A4, B4, the lower part. A4, B4, lower part. Here's the center. 1/4. Somewhere here the eye begins, along this line. The lower corner of the eye will be at 1/4 in height. And right at the intersection, in the middle of the square, will be the upper part of the eye. So we connect them with a smooth arc. Eyelashes will be added later. Then goes this semicircle, almost at the edge of the square, somewhere here. Let's connect as well. This can be adjusted again later. And then it goes to the nose. This is the middle, and vertically it's 1/2. Here's the middle, 1/2 here, and the middle. Here will be the inner corner of the eye. We connect this line with a small arc, and also the upper part. Now the iris. The iris will be here, the left side. Here the square begins. Here's its middle, 1/4, also about 1/8, middle, 1/4, 1/8. Here will be the corner. The lower part lies almost on the eyelid, and its right side is 1/3, something like this. Pay attention to the photo. Here, the circle won't be completely perfect because of slight distortions. Maybe the photo is distorted. Here also, a slight sharp corner. and the upper part is in shadow, covered by eyelashes. Now the iris. It's right on the edge of the square. And the other side is almost in the same place. It's in shadow, so let's draw it by eye, somewhere here. Highlights. This one is almost in the center, a small one, and next to it a slightly bigger one. Next, the eyelid. It goes into shadow, but you can see it's almost in the middle of this square. Then it ends right above the eye, somewhere here. The upper part. That's 3/8, the center, 1/4, 3/8, somewhere here. And now we connect. Here, the arc is not so straight. Slightly smaller radius. And we connect it with this point. Now let's outline the eyebrows. For now, we won't draw the eyelashes. Let's outline the eyebrows. The left eyebrow comes out of this strand, and the upper part lies right along this side of the square, like this. The lower part, where we draw the line, forms a square with the strand and the left side of the square. So approximately a square, say here. It goes slightly upward, and it goes. It's the center between the upper part of the eye, meaning the middle. That's 1/4. Don't draw the upper part too strongly because it's lighter than the lower part. We'll do this when we work in tones. And the lower part smoothly goes into the nose. Here too, don't make a strong line because it will be done with shading, so just mark slightly. It will bend almost at the center. Let's bring it here. Next comes the nose. Maybe even a little further because it doesn't end evenly here as we placed it at the eye. The center, 3/8. Center 3/8 around here. Then down, the nose. The center, also 3/8. Here it's almost a straight line, but it ends here and curves. This will be the middle of the square horizontally, and vertically 1/8. Up to here we draw the line of the nose. Of course, not perfectly straight, there will be a slight bump, but roughly this placement. The wings of the nose are almost in the middle, so we curve slightly. This lower part of the nose lies almost at the bottom of this square. We'll check by eye again. Roughly, the nose ends like this. We'll connect here. Here goes the shadow. It can be outlined. Let's complete the nose. Here ends the nostril. Almost the middle. Slightly like this. Here. It begins here. By width, it's hard to see, but here ends the shadow along this line. It's the middle of the square. 3/8. By height, the nostril. The middle, 1/4, 3/8. This wing of the nose, such a smooth shadow, so you can't see it. It will be a little lower here. Now let's outline how the shadow goes down to the lip. It begins at the tip of the nose and goes down to this point. This is slightly below the middle of the square. Up to here goes such a semicircle. Don't draw it too strongly because it's a shadow area. It should be blended to smoothly transition into the light. And here begins the tip of the upper lip. The left corner of the lip is on this line, the center of the square. The center, 1/8 from the center. This is the center, 1/4 and 1/8. Along this line begins the left corner of the lip. By height, center, 1/4 and 1/8. Center, 1/4 and 1/8, like this. And we connect this point with the upper part of the lip in a semi-arc. Now let's mark where this part is. It's slightly below the center. Maybe we'll need to adjust. And the upper part is right in the center. Horizontally, closer to the top of the square. Approximately 1/4, slightly to the right, like this. Now let's mark the right part of the lip, the right corner. This will be this square, 1/4, 1/4, almost a straight line. And it ends here. This is the middle, 1/4, 1/8, center, 1/4, and 1/8 ends somewhere here. Almost straight line. Connect, take it slightly downward. Now let's find the lower part of the lip. This is 1/4 of this square. This is the center, 1/4. This is the lower line of the lip. The lip goes into this square, about 1/8. Center, 1/4 and 1/8, somewhere here. And here it also connects with this edge. Now let's mark the lower part of the upper lip. It will be approximately, look, here's the middle. It will be 1/4, at the level of 1/4. And it will go slightly upward, almost under the upper part of the upper lip. You can also measure, if you want very precise transfer, you can divide each square into more squares, and smaller squares into even smaller ones. And also here. This way you can transfer more precisely. I do it more by eye. If you find it difficult to do this, you can divide large squares into even smaller ones in this way. That's why I said, for those whose eye measurement isn't well developed yet, you can make the grid not 2 centimeters, but 1 centimeter. Then the transfer will be more accurate. Let's continue. So the upper part of the lower lip will be between the bottom of the upper and lower squares. The lower square, the upper part, is in the middle. Here, it already goes almost in a straight line, slightly downwards. Now let's mark where the edge of the mouth ends. Here it's 1/8, and it goes at the same level, the upper corner at the intersection of this line. Connect. And then it goes here to the edge of the mouth. Here the tooth is on this line, the center, 1/8 of the center. And from here, we connect the upper part of the lower lip. Also, let's parallel this line slightly above and connect this part. And mark the left part of the tooth. It's slightly to the right of the cell edge. And the center of the two teeth. And let's mark this shadow too. It will go almost parallel to this. Mark its center, meaning the middle of the square. 1/8. And it will end in the corner like this. Now we only need to outline. Let's complete this eyebrow with light strokes, because it will also be slightly blended. And let's outline this eyebrow. Here will be the upper edge. Let's mark this point, this one, and this one. And of course, the edge. See, the eyebrow ends almost exactly at the edge of the cell. By height, vertically, it's between 1/4 and 1/8. The center, 1/4. 1/4 and 1/8. So the lower point will be about at 1/4. And we draw light lines parallel to the cell. It starts on the cell itself, and the lower part is about 1/8, meaning the middle 1/4 and 1/8. We connect lightly. Now let's find this point. It's slightly below the center, and the lower part is about at 1/4, like this. This point, where the arc bends. Here's the center. This is 1/4. This is 1/8. Center. 1/4 and 1/8. Vertically, it's also 1/8 from the center of the right square. Let's connect the lower part. It goes slightly straight and then a light arc, a straight line, and slightly round. Next, let's connect almost straight these 2 points. A slight arc here. The upper part is in the center, right here. We can also connect parallel to this line. Next, let's find the upper part. It will be 1/8 above the center. Center, 1/4. Center, 1/4, 1/8, somewhere here. Let's also round slightly. Here it rises slightly, so this line will go slightly downward. All of this will be drawn later. Here goes a small indentation. Moving on. All of this should converge in this point. Remove the excess. Our sketch is ready. We transferred all the main parts. Now we can erase our grid. Well, my friends, as I promised, we managed to make an accurate and neat portrait. And most importantly, we achieved photographic likeness to the original. I hope you don't regret enrolling in this course, and I wish you good luck in your future works. See ya! You may be surprised at the final result. Yes, this isn't the final drawing, it's just a sketch, but now everything is in place. In the following lessons, we will work through every detail of this portrait step by step. So be patient, the most exciting part is ahead.